Coming up next on Columbus Connections, we'll talk about how you can help your community by reducing false alarms. Stay tuned. Welcome to Columbus Connections. I am your host, David Britt. Now, there's a lot of talk about crime in our community, but what we don't often talk about is what we the citizens can do to help keep our community safe. Now, believe it or not, there are a lot of little things that can kind of get in the way, and one of them is false alarms. Now, it may not sound like a big thing if you have had one false alarm every month or so, but imagine every day if several or hundreds of people have false alarms that our public servants have to go and report to when you're having an actual emergency. Imagine how hard that can be to deal with that and to allocate resources to that when their resources could be allocated to helping fight crime and help other citizens. So that's what we're going to talk about today, ways that those can be reduced. Now I have with me Ms. Abby Shelley. She's with Central Square Technology. And I also have with me Captain Turner from the Columbus Police Department. We're going to talk about that. Welcome to the show, guys. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us.
Now Abby is actually joining virtually. How are you doing, Abby?
I'm doing great. How are you all doing today?
We are good, and thank you for joining us. So let's, Abby, I'm going to give it to you first. I understand that we have a brief slideshow that kind of talks about what we're here to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to take a moment to inform and introduce to the citizens of Columbus the Alarm Ordinance and False Alarm Reduction Program. In 2019, the City Council of Columbus passed an Alarm Ordinance 19-062. This ordinance requires all monitored police, fire, medical, and life alert alarms to be registered with the city. The purpose of the ordinance is to encourage proper and effective use of alarm systems by setting forth regulations governing alarm systems within the city to reduce the number of false alarms requiring law enforcement response. This will increase officer safety and ensure proper attention and response to actual crimes in progress. Additionally, we hope it will increase available preventive patrol and increase patrol enforcement time, thereby furthering the health, safety, and welfare of all of the citizens in Columbus. City Council has contracted Central Square Technologies on December 30th of 2019 to administer the Columbus False Alarm Reduction Program to support and enforce the alarm ordinance for permitting and false alarm billing. And the False Alarm Reduction Program commenced operations on January 6, 2020. So to register for an alarm permit, there is a $35 one-time registration fee for both commercial and residential locations. If a business or a residence fails to register their alarm, there is a $100 civil penalty that will be assessed for every false alarm that's triggered by your alarm system while your system is unregistered. False alarm fines are counted on a calendar year, that's January through December, and are assessed starting at the second false alarm in a year's time, starting at $50, and can go to as high as $400 or more for 10 or more false alarms in a year. So how can citizens register for their alarm system? There are 3 ways in which they can register. They can register by phone by calling 833-281-8741. They can register by completing a registration form and sending it via email to columbusga@alarm-billing.com, or they can mail it to our P.O. Box 931713, Atlanta, Georgia 31193. Or they can register online 24/7 at our website. The alarm registration just simply captures a little bit of basic information, not asking for the whole life story, just asking for your residence, your business name, alarm, obviously the address of the alarmed location, contact numbers for emergency purposes, email address if applicable, any emergency contacts, key holder information, any special conditions about the property that you would like emergency personnel to be aware of, and then both your alarm monitoring company and your installation company if they happen to be different. And Shown here is just a view of what the homepage of the alarm registration website looks like for our citizens. Both business and private residents can utilize this to register 24/7. And then once you're registered, you can access your account online 24/7 to check the status of any outstanding fines, pay outstanding fines, take a look at your alarm history to see how many false alarms you've had, etc., updating emergency contact information, updating billing information, etc. Also on the homepage are quick links to both the alarm ordinance so that you can read it in its entirety, appeal guidelines if there's any fees you wish to dispute that have been billed to you from the program, false alarm prevention tips, and any frequently asked questions. And then at the bottom of our homepage is provided the customer service line and the email address and the mailing address as well. Some citizens question if their alarm company should be providing alarm permitting as a part of their alarm services. We do want to make it clear that alarm companies are not required by law to share their clients list or to register their clients for alarm permits. The City of Columbus holds the alarm owner as solely accountable for registering their alarms in compliance with the city alarm ordinance. However, Central Square sent requests to alarm companies on June 24th of 2020 advising them of the ordinance, its requirements, and requested a current client listing. Additionally, we've sent out other requests for client listing in March of 2021, and we continue to accept, receive, and process all client registrations from alarm companies.
All right, thank you very much, Abby, for that information. So, Captain Turner, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we're going to talk about false alarms. What exactly constitutes having a false alarm?
What constitutes having a false alarm is when one of the public safety agencies respond to an alarm activation, and once the officer arrives on scene and he realizes that there was no unauthorized entry into the premises, or there was no attempt unauthorized entry onto the premises. And when we have those medical emergency calls through the fire department and EMS, the ambulance services, if there was no fire or no medical emergency existed, then we consider those as being false alarms.
Gotcha.
The responding agency, basically determines whether or not that is a false alarm. I just want the public to know that if it is a valid alarm, which means that you did have a burglary attempt, or you did have an actual burglary, or you did have a medical emergency or a fire, then there will be no charge. No charges will be accessed against you.
Gotcha. You know what, Captain Turner, I'm so interested with our officers. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with the force? Tell us a little about yourself and your service with the force.
I'm Captain William Turner with the Columbus Police Department. I've been with the police department approximately 46 years. And my present assignment, I'm in support services, and one of the tasks that I'm assigned now is to be a liaison between Central Square Technologies and the police department. As she said earlier, the city contracted with Central Square Technologies to administer this program. So I'm the liaison between that program concerning Central Technologies and the police department. I'm also the appeals person for this program. If someone receives a bill or they're assessed a fine that they totally don't agree with and they want to appeal it, then they go through the appeal process by sending that appeal to Central Square Technologies, and Central Square Technology will forward that appeal to me.
Gotcha. Now, talking back about the false alarms, we talked about what a false alarm is. What are some of those causes that cause false alarms?
Some of the things that cause false alarms will be a malfunctioning system, which means a system that maybe it wasn't installed correctly, or it has some kind of electronic problem associated with it that cause it to malfunction. You have instances where premises have motion detectors, and the motion detectors can detect any movement, and that movement can be an animal inside the home. It can be you can leave a ceiling fan on, the ceiling fan can blow the curtains can move, set off the motion detector, and things such as that causes the false alarm, and it causes that alarm to go to the alarm company. The alarm company calls the police department, and the police department or the fire department responds, depending on, basically if it's a motion detector, then it's gonna be for burglary.
Gotcha. Now, I would imagine if I have a false alarm by mistake, I shouldn't just call 911 and say, oops, my bad. What's the number I should call you guys if there's ever anything that I know is a false
If you have a false alarm and you know it's a false alarm, you're correct. Don't call the police department. We don't have the number for you to call. That number is the number of your alarm company. You need to call your alarm company and let your alarm company know, hey, this is a false alarm. Hey, please call the police department and tell them not to respond. If you call the police department from your home, we're not going to take your word for that there is no alarm activation there because let's just say a burglar can come into your home and then they can call the police department and say, hey, y'all don't need to respond, everything's okay here. So that's why we require for the alarm company to make that call. So as soon as you find out you have that false alarm, what you need to do is get in touch with your alarm company immediately. Another thing that you need to do is make sure that your alarm company understands that if there is a alarm activation at your premises, that they call you first and let you make that determination as to whether or not you want police, fire, EMS services to respond.
Gotcha.
And you can give them an extra number to call, or you can give them 2 extra numbers to call, which means you can have 3 numbers that they can go through before they actually, send one of the responding public safety agencies. Because once that agency responds and there is no valid alarm, then that's going to cause, if it's like your second false alarm, then that's going to encourage a fee.
Gotcha.
So in order to keep that fee from being assessed against you, then just have them to call to verify with you whether or not you would want the police to respond. So as long as you can stop that response before the public safety agency gets on scene, then you will not be assessed a charge.
Gotcha. And again, we have Miss Abby Shelley with us. She's with Central Square Technologies, you all's partner in handling this. Miss Abby, thank you for being with us again. And there's some information that we wanted to share. We wanted to share a website and any possible numbers that the public needs. How could they access that?
Yeah, absolutely. The website is www.columbusga.gov/police. And our customer service line for the program, if people want to register by phone or at least begin the process by phone, is 833-281-8741. The email address is columbusga@alarm-billing.com for mailing, and physical mail is P.O. Box 931713, Atlanta, Georgia 31193.
Thank you so much. And Miss Abby, did I get your last name wrong?
It's Steffi. It's okay.
Abby
I didn't
Steffi.
want to. I didn't know when a good time was to say it. So
Yeah,
I was fine going with Shelley.
It's important to me that I get you guys right because you guys are helping us stay protected. So Abby Steffi with Central Square Technologies.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah. And I would like to add that once you go to that website, columbusga.gov/police, it's going to bring you to the police department's website, and at the top of the police department website will be false alarm reduction program. You click on that link and it will send you to the Central Square Technologies.
Gotcha. As a citizen, what are some things that I can do to reduce the possibility of me setting off a false alarm?
There are several things you can do. As I mentioned earlier, you can just make sure that things such as ceiling fans and animals don't cause your motion detector to go off. You can, if you are a commercial business, you can make sure that your employees that handle your alarm closing and opening are told how to properly open the business and disarm the alarm, and how to set the alarm when they are leaving in the evenings, because we have a lot of false alarms when people are opening up and when they are closing. And if the owner can show their employees or their family members the proper way of handling that alarm when you are activating or deactivating that alarm, then that would save a whole lot of problems as far as having us to respond on false alarms. Another thing is keeping your doors locked. Sometimes people leave their homes, they don't lock the doors. Someone just walk right in, they've set the alarm, that's gonna set the alarm off. We even had that to happen at some businesses. They close their doors, turn the alarm, set the alarm, close their door, forget to lock it, someone think the business is open, they open the door and sets off the alarm.
Gotcha. Now, we talked a little bit about it. If we disagree, if you get an assessment fee, if you disagree with it, and can you appeal it, or what options do you have?
If you get assessed a fine and you don't agree with that fine, you have 3 ways of notifying Central Square Technologies. And Abby, can you give them those 3 ways of notifying?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you guys can, citizens can call by phone. They can call the service line. They can contact us by email, or they can mail by USPS mail. Do you want me to provide the numbers and the email address again?
Yes. Could you just, can you provide the numbers and the email address?
Yeah. Telephone number is 833-281-8741. Email address is columbusga@alarm-billing.com.
Awesome. Now, the fact that you guys are both here, both in person and virtual, shows that even though this may seem like a minor thing, it must be very important. What is the magnitude of having to deal with so many false alarms when you all have finite resources to deal with so many other emergencies that are going on?
And that is the main reason why this program was implemented, is because of the fact that we're just having too many false alarms. Mm-hmm. For example, in 2019, we had well over 20,000 false alarms that public safety agencies had to respond to. When we implemented this program in 2020, and made people aware of the false alarm problem that we were having, that reduction went down to a little over 16,000 calls. And that saved us 4,500 and something responses. And we're hoping that as people learn about this program and as the year go on, we can reduce those numbers by even more. We don't have the resources to be responding to these false alarms because we have to put our resources on those calls where people really need us for real emergencies. So we're trying to place our units in a position to where they don't have to respond to these false alarms. They can concentrate on responding to real crimes in progress or citizens that are having real issues and problems. And that response time will be increased because the false alarms take a lot of our time away from the responses that we have for real crimes and issues that we have.
Gotcha. So let's all do our part to help reduce the number of false alarms, because in doing that, there are more resources that can be used to help us with all the situations that are real and are actual. Thank you so much, Captain, for what you do in your service. Thank you, Abby, Steffi, for being with us today, and the
Thank you
service
for having
that you
us.
are helping collaborate with us.
And can I add something before we close? I just want everybody to understand that the false alarm reduction program is meant for residential and commercial businesses. And it also includes the medical alerts and alarms that are monitored and not monitored, which means the monitored alarms goes to an alarm company when there's an activation. The unmonitored alarms don't go to alarm companies. And what the best describe the unmonitored alarms, if your alarm is not monitored by an alarm company, it comes to your cell phone, and once it comes to your cell phone, you summons the police to go to your house to check and see if everything's okay. If the response determines that there was no unauthorized entry or unauthorized entry attempt, then that will incur an assessment. So just because you don't have an alarm company or don't go through an alarm company, you still can be assessed a charge. So
Gotcha.
I want to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Right. So again, let's all do our part to be good with the resources that we have. Let's help our police department help us and reduce the amount of false alarms that they're having to deal with. Again, thanks for watching. This is Columbus Connection.